Kathleen Kennedy confirms Indiana Jones 5 is a continuation and not a reboot. That is the headline on today's MBE Movie News.
Yes, Stephen, it's coming in from Collider, and it is a very intriguing little headline indeed. It will be a continuation, but not just the continuation aspect. The fact that she's actually confirmed we are indeed getting an Indiana Jones 5. No Shia LaBeouf here, but we are getting one Harrison Ford, a man with two faces, a smile and a frown. He's coming back. He's, 79 now?
77.
77.
Yep.
Still as fit as a fiddle, still in better shape than me, still flying planes and landing them on golf courses and coming out with a laceration on his arm. I don't know about this one, Stephen. I'm conflicted inside because I love Harrison Ford, and look, I did grow up really enjoying these Indiana Jones movies, but they have been a train wreck very, very recently. I mean, that Crystal Skull movie was just shite. I was about to swear there. I was about to say something else.
You did?
Yeah, no, yeah, but shite's not as bad. It's not as offensive. Right. It was terrible, man. But part of me wants to see it because, look, Harrison was so good. I'm calling him Harrison. I'm in first name terms with him here. He was so good, and also The Force Awakens. The humour, the chemistry between him and obviously John Boyega, had to think about that way too long there, was really nice. It showed that he still had the chops, and he's so passionate about this character. He wants to see this movie being done before he gets too old, way too old. And look, if they handle it right, it could work, I suppose. He doesn't want to end it with that god-awful Crystal movie.
This was actually the BBC was speaking on the red carpet at the BAFTAs on Sunday, John. They were basically just asking the progress of the movie and where it stood, and Kennedy had this to say. She said, "We're working away, getting the script where we want it to be, and then we're ready to go," and went on to confirm Harrison Ford will be involved. I think we knew that already. It is not a reboot, it is a continuation. It's interesting, John. I think
it has to be a continuation.
I think obviously with no Shia LaBeouf's involvement in this, I don't think they're going to go down the road of recasting their son. I don't think they need it. There was nothing wrong with the casting in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I thought the cast were actually excellent, with Ray Winston in there as well. The story, it was just basically the story was just
rubbish.
I was
the
going
one
to say,
good thing was that ant
else.
sequence. I think it was ants. The ants were swarming. That was the one good bit.
Yeah, it was just something about it that was off. It was just one step too far, I felt, for the franchise. Hopefully they get this back on track, John. I'm glad it's not a reboot. I never thought for a minute it was going to be. I always assumed it was Harrison Ford that was going to be continuing the role anyway. So
Holden Ehrenreich's crushed.
He's already laid the law down to him with his other character.
Get out of my seat. Get out of my life.
Move ball. But it's a continuation. I'll take, John. It's the last good Indiana Jones film was 1990s, The Last Crusade. It's probably still my favourite Indiana Jones film, actually, the one with Sean Connery. And it was a major letdown. It was such a long time, 18 years apart from those ones to the Crystal Skull, and it was just such a big jump in tone and storyline. It just didn't fit into the arc of this character. So hopefully they've learnt a lesson, we're going back to basics, and we get to see a good Indiana Jones film again.
Absolutely, Stephen, amen. I say to that. What was the one with Bomber from With Wiedersehen?
He was actually in the 3.
He was in the 3.
He played different characters.
The one that get killed with the propeller.
I think that was the second one, Temple of Doom.
Yeah, that was a great one as well. But you're right, the Connery one was wonderful. Look, the original 3 were fantastic. It did get diminishing returns did start to happen with that trilogy as well, though. First 2 for me. Probably the second one's my favourite. I don't even know the name of it. Was it The Last Crusade?
The second one was Temple of Doom. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Temple of Doom, Last Crusade.
I take that back right away. Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favourite. Yeah. So you see, I can't even decide. But I think everyone can decide that Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, or whatever the hell it was called, was utter dog shite.
Yeah.
They do not want to go down that route. And look, Shia LaBeouf's a great actor. I mean, I've seen the guy in the round table. What he's done with, what is it called? That one about him befriending the young guy who wants to be a wrestler. Something Honey. I can't recall what the movie's called. I haven't seen it. I don't think it's got a release here yet. But we did the reaction for it. And then I think he's playing his father in another movie. So he's in a bit of a renaissance now. He was in a sticky place. Man does a lot of charity work with homeless people in LA. Great guy by all accounts. I was completely wrong about him. So I'm not doing down Shia LaBeouf, but it just didn't work in that movie. Chemistry wasn't there. You're right, the story was
John,
abomination.
it never works with a big character's son coming in for the next sequel. It didn't work with Crocodile Dundee. It didn't work with The Mummy Returns either. They become an annoyance really because you're comparing them to the main character, the father figure, if you like, and it never works. So let's not go there.
No, but Stephen, look, it has to be a continuation though. It really has to be. I think David Coit, incidentally, is a screenwriter. Certainly saying that he's a screenwriter. That name rings a bell. Seem to recall speaking about this guy before. Can't recall what he's doing, but they have got a good screenwriter in there, and it does, as I did say, have to be a continuation of this universe. You can't reboot it and bring in Harrison Ford at 77. He'll be about 78 or 79, pushing 80 by the time this movie's filmed.
Yeah,
he's too old, man. What are you going to do with a reboot? It has to be a continuation and then have it end in a way that bookends this story and this great character, one of the great cinematic action characters. Legendary, and that was because of Harrison Ford and what he did. He managed to bookend Han Solo. I was about to say with The Force Awakens, but obviously that really touching sequence in The Rise of Skywalker between him and Ben Solo bookended that character really well. It was god awful in Return of the Jedi, superfluous to the story, had no part to play whatsoever, could have died, should have died, and then he managed to save that. So if he can save that, I've got faith that the man can come in, still have something about him to save Indiana Jones as well. I was about to say Han Solo again there. He's saving it. He's so good at it. He'll save it twice. But look, I am done with it. I'm excited for it. Hopefully Kathleen Kennedy can throw off this curse that's followed her with Star Wars and do something with Indiana Jones. Lord knows we need to see a good Indiana Jones movie. But look, guys, shall move on to a sort of interconnected topic. It's continuing this Lucasfilm Kathleen Kennedy theme. I suppose, I mean, they're not really mentioning Kathleen Kennedy here, but
she's the
president of Lucasfilm, and they are reportedly developing a Poe Dameron origin movie. Now, I don't know where this is coming from. It could be complete and utter pie in the sky nonsense. We got this covered. Now, they have previous for talking nonsense, so maybe this could be shite. But they're saying that they may be developing a movie which focuses on what happens next for Daisy Ridley's Rey, and that they aren't done with John Boyega's Finn and Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron. Now, I don't believe the Rey stuff. No. She is done.
Yeah.
She's not interested. I would love to see Finn and Poe coming back togetger.
John Boyega had a lot to say in social media at the tail end of last year, John, so I don't know if he'll be invited back.
Not Disney Plus, no. Feature-length movie.
I think the Poe Dameron one is probably the most plausible one. I think... the character, I can't remember what her name was in The Rise of Skywalker, the sort of bounty hunter type.
Oh Jesus,
I can't remember. Already. So memorable. But I think the point I'm trying to make, John, is that the character obviously had a past, and they were kind of hinting in the past that he had a sort of checkered past.
Sorry, Bliss.
That Finn actually homed in on, and
coming out.
Poe get very defensive about it, so I think the clues were there, and it kind of suggested to me, seeing the film for the first time, that they were planting seeds to maybe go somewhere else with this character, whether it be set before the events of the sequel trilogy or maybe after it. I don't know. I think either way would work, to be honest with you. I think Oscar Isaac is he's not aged, so they can certainly do a sort of prequel to his story, or if they want to continue the story on where he reunites with Zori Bliss. I don't know how it would work, but it really depends on how the actor feels as well.
With a little bit Chester, Partridge, that's what I'm like when I'm speaking, Stephen.
I need water.
Yes, I'm saying.
But listen, if you're asking me if I'm interested in that, I certainly am. I want to see more of this character. It's very interesting, that this character was supposed to be a sort of, just a throwaway character initially with J.J. Abrams, but as The Force Awakens developed, he saw the potential in the character as well and resurrected him. He was supposed to die, obviously, in that crash on Jakku, and I'm glad they didn't do it, because for all its faults, Poe Dameron, certainly in The Last Jedi, for all this, the pandering that they did to demean the character, it was still a very strong character in that one. certainly in The Force Awakens, his flying skills were there to be seen as well in that sequence, which is probably one of the best parts of the trilogy as well. So I'm all for it, because I like the character and I like Oscar Isaac as well.
Absolutely, Stephen. Look, he's a very interesting character indeed. Obviously, his backstory, his parents were citizens, or they stayed on Yavin 4. I don't know if they were citizens, but they gave birth to Poe on Yavin 4. So he's rich within the mythos of Star Wars. Obviously, that reveal in The Rise of Skywalker on that snow planet, which alludes me at the moment, I think it begins with L or I can't recall what it's called, doesn't matter. I digress. Zori Bliss reveals that he had a spice smuggling past, much like Han Solo.
Yeah.
It's ripe, this backstory. We can go back and do a Cassian Andor, although not on Disney Plus, because he's already ruled that out. He will not be a Disney Plus actor. If we can explore this guy's backstory, maybe do a Rogue One, go back and see his connections with Zori Bliss, with what was it called, Babu, the little guy that wipes or helps retrieve
They made a big deal of him, John. I couldn't care less about him. Babu Shriek or something.
Babu, it was something.
I don't know. You know something? I don't care. I don't really. It reminded me of a little thing it was in Flight of Navigator, just a toy selling thing. It just didn't care.
But we could see how he got in tow with all of these characters, how he got to be a part of the fledgling resistance, just building this character up and making him even richer and a more fuller character. As you did say, he nearly bit the bullet very early on in The Force Awakens. He was meant to be a supplementary side character, an enabler for obviously Finn to get off. I was about to say something there. Finn to get off of that Star Destroyer.
I think I knew where you were going there, John. Glad you stopped yourself.
And on to Jakku. I'm so glad JJ and Oscar came together.
Babu Freak, I was right. Yeah.
Babu Freak.
Yeah.
Frick, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that these two came together and fleshed this character's role out. He did survive The Force Awakens and he became a real sort of anchoring role in this sequel trilogy. One of the better characters, certainly one of the better actors alongside Adam Driver. So I want to see this. I want to see this character get fleshed out. I'd love to see a standalone movie. I'd like to see a mismatching buddy thing with him and John Boyega and Finn and Poe come together and doing something in the future. I just want to say those names together to prove I can say them correctly in the right order.
Anytime I think of Adam Driver now, I just think of OK Boomer.
Yes, OK Boomer.
Yeah.
But seeing these guys together, I want to see it. I want to see a Force sensitive hinted Finn becoming a full-on Jedi, getting off and doing missions with Poe and just exploring new locales and doing new things. Great potential there. But look, I digress. I ain't got much more to add. Before I dig myself a hole, I'm going to move on to the next topic, Stephen. One that's close to both our hearts. It is slightly out of date, but we cannot go by without speaking about this fantastic news. It's saying Beatles fans will lose their minds over Peter Jackson's myth-busting Let It Be movie. Of course, Peter Jackson became quite the connoisseur at doing documentaries and reworking archive footage from many years ago. Did it We Shall Not Grow Old, World War II movie. Amazingly restored all of that footage and audio and whatnot. Gave us a real heartwarming, poignant World War One movie. It really brought life to that period and let us go into the shoes of these ordinary men who were on incredible journeys. And he's doing it again.
Wouldn't want to get into the shoes of them, John.
No,
trench foot.
No. But he's doing it again, Stephen.
Yeah.
We're going back 50 years. My maths is never great. 50 years nearly. 50 years this year.
Yeah, I think that's
51 years actually.
I think that's it came out in 70, John, but it was 69. Obviously filmed in 69, yeah.
But he's gone back and reworking this amazing, don't even know what you'd call it, documentary film from 1969, of course. Let It Be. Paul McCartney came up with a great idea to bring all the Beatles together and do a fly-in-the-wall documentary of them creating and sort of brainstorming an album.
And then doing a concert at
the end. Didn't work out well. No. Kind of fell apart. There was arguing and bickering, and I think George Harrison was trying to punch Yoko Ono over a digestive biscuit being stolen. There was a lot of things going on, but they do say here, Stephen, without giving away too much, because I keep getting told I go on and on and on by little bitches who have not posted a single video up on YouTube. They say that this is a myth-busting documentary. It's going to reveal a different side to this.
Wow. Did you hear that?
Yes,
wow.
To these sessions. And we're going to see a more colourful and upbeat and happier thing. I think this is all Paul McCartney.
Well,
airbrushing history again.
Listen, see, even if Peter Jackson decides he doesn't want to do this, at least he's got the reward of seeing and having access to over 55 hours of material, something that we've not seen. We've only seen the version that it was dropped on YouTube years ago, John. I know you've seen it as well, the Michael Lindsay Hogg version, the director. Bits of it obviously in the Beatles anthology as well that we saw, the best bits. To be fair, they did include a bit of bickering between Paul McCartney and George Harrison in regards to, I think it was some of the guitar solo stuff. But I don't think we're going to get to see all the stuff that Paul McCartney doesn't want us to see. He's going to have a big say in how this film's presented, along with obviously Ringo Starr, and obviously Olivia Harrison and Yoko Ono. So it's something that's, as you said, John, it's very close to our hearts being big Beatles fans, and I know mostly the stories anyway around this time and what was happening behind the scenes, and John Lennon was very bitter towards the way the original film was portrayed. It was made by Paul for Paul. That was his quote, wasn't it?
True.
And if you look at most of the camera work's all focused on Paul McCartney. But that's not to say that with 55 hours there's not some gold.
There has to be other cameras.
There's some gold in amongst all that. What I want to see is how this is restored. If Peter Jackson and his crew can take footage from the early 20th century, and restore it to a good working order. Wasn't perfect. There was a lot of colorization, but you've got to remember what the guy's working with. Yeah. But it still was presented very well. High quality presentation in that film. I expect this one's going to knock that out of the park as well, because it's not as old. And some of the stuff we've already seen, the Michael Lindsay Hogg stuff, it's not in bad nick. There's a lot of black and white stuff that's kicked about YouTube, obviously various cameras, but some of the colour stuff, I think there was a panning shot that was going across the floor. It was a green carpet. Yeah. Do you remember that one, John? And a glass on the floor. That was crystal clear as if it was filmed yesterday.
Even the rooftop.
Yeah, and Peter Jackson, this is a bit I'm looking forward to, John, because
remastered version.
The sound as well, you remember that bass sound you were getting from down the Savile Row Street, and it was just...
Don't let me down.
Outstanding. One thing I will say, John, and I agree with you said this before we started recording tonight, was that if this is going to be in the cinemas, which it will be, it definitely will be,
I'm there.
We've got to be there, just for the sound and the vision alone, but the story as well. This is a time when the biggest band in the world was starting to, the cracks were appearing. If they weren't already appearing in the White Album, with Ringo and George Harrison, leaving the band.
I thought it was you.
Yeah, unofficially, So I think I can't wait to see this. We were talking about this in the podcast, I think, last February. Yeah. It dropped, so it's been a year since obviously the news broke. And Peter Jackson's been very quiet. He's not really been in the news, been busy with other stuff, so I think he's devoting a lot of his time to this project, and I can't wait to see it.
Well, Stephen, they say at the bottom, lucky few in the audience were then treated to several minutes of the upcoming documentary film.
It must be near,
it is well on to being done, if not done, so I cannot wait to see it. And just what he's saying, it's Apple Records chief, Jeff Jones, saying it was tied in. It was tied in also with the album. It was a depressing look at the end of the Beatles, and they've created a brand new film that will attempt to bust the myth that the Let It Be sessions were the final nail in the Beatles' coffin. They're saying that it's brighter, both visually and spiritually. I'm dying here as well with my throat. With many, many shots of the Beatles joking around, making fun of each other, singing in silly accents, and generally indulging in vintage mop-top hijinks. That's something I always loved about those brief little behind the scenes snippets in the middle of making albums and whatnot. The humour, the banter between them, the kid on playing of songs. Lennon was singing a depressing version of Help when I was young, things like that.
There's also a nice photograph of Lennon and McCartney, John, that I think Paul McCartney spoke of on, I can't remember what chat show it was. I don't know if it's Conan, I can't remember, but it was a nice photo of both of them. Lennon was kind of cross-legged and both of them were focusing on I think it was either a photograph or a piece of paper with lyrics, and both of them smiling at each other, and it kind of reassured Paul McCartney, that it's very easy for him to believe all the hype of the press at the time, that John Lennon hated him, he hated John Lennon, etc. And this photo reminds him of that period that, it wasn't all bad.
No.
It's a very nice photograph. I know that you had a similar photograph around about the time of a smirking John Lennon on one of your message boards. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I think this is, when it says myth busting, I think that's the kind of thing we're going to get. The humour that was in in Savile Row and Olympic Studios, I want to say, where they did all the sort of, the sort of stage stuff that they didn't like, it was too cold, etc. I think that's where really, they were bickering because of the conditions. Once they get back to Savile Row, it seemed to be
toasty,
and I think
was that when Magic Alex was trying to do his 12? What the hell was it?
It was just a selection of speakers all around the room, wasn't it?
Yeah, the man that created an electronic, I think it was an electronic toilet. This guy was a fantasist. But look, Stephen, I cannot wait to see it, man. I cannot wait to see what Peter Jackson's gave us. As you did say, cleaning up the image. It's going to be vibrant. It's going to be shot in amazing HD. It'll just pop. We've seen what he did. He was colouring in and oscillating different speeds from those. I mean, they actually had to manually move the camera.
Yeah.
And They Shall Not Grow Old footage. The people who were filming it back in those days, you'll not have that issue here. It'll all be the one pace, the actual frame rate.
Yeah.
So it'll be much easier to restore it. I hope we get some of the black and white shots colourised. Cannot wait to see the rooftop performance. Hopefully in a cinema.
Yeah.
Amazing surround sound.
For You Blue.
For You Blue,
yeah.
Seeing Macca walking down with his Crombie and just Harrison with his goddamn awful slippers on, just chilling with his denim. I cannot wait, man. I cannot wait to see and hear the music, see new footage, hopefully get blow-by-blow narration and talking over and whatnot, giving us what was happening at the time from maybe Ringo and McCartney, not Harrison. Well, they could use maybe archival footage. They've got voices from the dead. Sadly, most of the guys that were around, the likes of George Martin and whatnot, are no longer with us.
Yeah, Neil Aspinall,
so, and obviously Mal Evans. They are no longer here. I don't think Mal would speak anyway, even if he was there. He wasn't a great talker.
No.
So we'll lose something tangible there. But
Derek Taylor's away as well. I think, there's not many of them left now. It's sad.
Someone else passed away recently. Was it Taylor that passed away? There was someone passed away.
Derek Taylor, I think he passed away a good 15 years ago.
No, there was someone very recent. I don't know if it was it wasn't Jeff Emmerich. There was someone passed away anyway who was involved. Shame though, but look, what we'll get will be absolutely outstanding. He's proven himself to be a real good documentary filmmaker. But look, I digress. I'm going to move on to the last topic of the show, Stephen. Yeah. We've got about 6 minutes left. Let's end on a happy little end note here.
Let's try and do this in 2.
Yeah, I was doing my Bob Ross here, a happy little Mario creator explains why he approved another movie, and of course it's Shigeru Miyamoto. I don't know if I've said that right, but the man's a legend.
Yeah.
Involved heavily in Nintendo, an absolute legend in the world of gaming. I love this guy, I love Nintendo, I love Mario. Didn't love that 93 movie, was it?
Yeah,
that
Bob Hoskins,
atrocious. But this is a lot more promising, Stephen. They are working in conjunction with the animation studio Illumination, who of course did the likes of Secret Life of Pets. I think they did Despicable Me or Minions, I can't recall which one it was. It may have been both. This is promising. This could be a better movie in terms of...
It wouldn't be hard.
Just the fact that it's not live action and god awful. It's that animation style lends itself well.
I was going to say, John, obviously nowadays you could probably do live action with all these characters like Toad and Koopa and Bowser, etc. Back in 1993, this wasn't possible. It wouldn't have worked at all. So why make a film about Mario in 1993? It was terrible. I remember Dennis Hopper was Super Koopa Trooper or whatever, I can't remember what it's called.
Super Trooper.
Gary Hooper, yeah. So I think it was just a bad idea, but it was that time when Street Fighter came out as well with Kylie Minogue and Jean-Claude Van Damme, so they weren't the only ones making bad films. So this, on the other hand, it's a reputable studio that's doing it. It's films, or animated films that we all enjoy. They're very high quality. And you've got all these colourful characters, just like I said. Toad is one of my favourite Mario characters. I always love going him in Mario Kart. And, it's going to be interesting. I think perhaps, they're seeing that Sonic the Hedgehog is getting its act together now with the look. And to be fair, although it's not my cup of tea, it does look a lot better. It does look something I think a lot of kids will enjoy. And I think the Mario creators took that on board, that this might be the right time for Nintendo's Sonic the Hedgehog, aka Mario, and his brother Luigi Mario. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's so strange that, wasn't it? Mario and Luigi Mario, but it's why not? You know, they're legendary characters, so
Absolutely.
why not bring them to, you know, film once again in this form?
Yeah, Stephen, look, I grew up playing the Mario games. Obviously, the SNES version, the side-scroller, then Mario 64. Just love it. I played Odyssey, if I can see. I can't see the name. Paper Mario. I played that most recent one on the Switch. I love it. I've got Mario Kart. Absolutely love these characters.
Yeah.
And if they can work in collaboration, get a good story in there, because look, that's one thing that's always really transcended in many of the platformer Mario games. Story's pretty similar, but it's cool.
Yeah.
And the locations they go off to are pretty cool, and the characters are colourful, as you did say. Usually have Toad and Yoshi popping in and out, helping. Koopa Troopa. You get the likes of Bowser and Princess Peach. They all come in and out. If they can get this right with an animation studio like Illumination on board, I see no reason why it couldn't be an absolute success. It could. I don't see why it can't do any worse than maybe an Incredibles movie, or maybe like Frozen. I could see it if they get it right, they get the right personnel on board, the right writers and whatnot, the right voice actors. This could hit 800 million. No problem whatsoever. There's still demographics out there of very wide, old to young, who could go and watch a movie like this.
Yes,
if it is done correctly, that is the key. If it's done correctly, we have not seen many computer video games, whatever you want to call them, transcending over to movies. We spoke about it time and again. Assassin's Creed, shite. Mortal Kombat, shite. That most recent Tomb Raider movie, okay. Most of them are terrible. Rampage, was it? Was that one with Dwayne Johnson?
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't really.
It wasn't a big release as a video game, John. You know,
it wasn't really taking the actual video game. And it was an action take on it.
Kind of concept of it, but you know, that's as far as it went.
Yeah, look, I'm not got much more to add other than to say, one final thing I would say, I never even thought about it. Could it do like a Pokemon Detective Pikachu, maybe Sonic the Hedgehog, Paddington thing? A mixture of live action and animated, because we've seen that with Mario before. It transcends real life human characters popping around with the shorter, colourful animated Mario thing. We've seen it with the most recent one, so it's certainly something that could work, but I'd rather it be an out and out animation with Illumination coming in and doing the visuals, and then we get a great story and it works. Hopefully, I'm praying. Exercise the demons of a 93 movie. But look, I digress. I've got not much more to add, and I think we're both done, Stephen, on that note. So pass it over again to people who may or may not be watching. If you're not watching, you'll not be commenting, but if you have been, what is your thoughts on Indiana Jones? Do you agree it should be a continuation? Are you excited for another Indiana Jones movie, or will it be another catastrophe like the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls? What's your thoughts on Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm perhaps greenlighting a Poe Dameron standalone movie? What's your thoughts on the Beatles Let It Be movie and this potential Mario remake? I don't know, animated movie. What if you've got anything to say at all? Just comment below and let us know what your thoughts are. That sounded a little bit demanding, but it wasn't. You can comment below, is what I meant to say. You can also like the video if you feel kindly and generous. You can also dislike if you hate it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying content like this. And if you do, then you'll see my ugly mug on my Todd tomorrow for another episode of MBE Movie News.